Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where today I just want to do somewhat of a public service announcement specifically related to the federal EV tax credit, otherwise known as the Clean Vehicle Tax Credit under Internal Revenue Code Section 30D, where it offers $7,500 for new electric vehicles or fuel cell electric vehicles and up to $4,000 for qualifying used EVs. But here's the issue. With this new tax bill, the big beautiful bill that's already approved by Congress and is going to be potentially approved by the Senate, there's stipulation in there which is it may go away this year, even though they're talking about this tax credit from the original bill was up till the years 2032. So here's the deal. My advice is if you qualify and if the car qualifies, you may want to run out and grab it sooner rather than later. Just take into account the information in this video. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what are the vehicles that qualify as of the recording of this video here in June of 2025. What kind of income limitations are there on this bill, and what are the risks that are associated with it? So this will be a quick one, but hopefully it's something, if you're on that fence or you're on the cusp and you need to understand what's going on with the EV tax credit, stick with me, Out of Spec Dave. Let's get into it. All right, so let's first talk about the credit itself, the $7,500 on new vehicles, and how that's split into two parts. Basically, minerals that are used in the batteries and then components that are used in the batteries. So there's a $3,750 carve-out or component for vehicles meeting certain critical minerals requirements, up to 60%. 60% of the battery minerals extracted or processed in the U.S. or countries with U.S. free trade agreements. As of 2025. And in 2026, that's going up, assuming this bill is still there, to 70%. So basically what the government is saying is they want the minerals to be at least 60% from U.S. or U.S. free trade agreement countries. All right, so that's number one. Number two, 3,750, the other component, other half of the 7,500, it has to meet battery components, I guess the actual manufacturing of the battery itself, and the components that go into it. Again, that's 60% and the 70% for 2026. Now, there is a stipulation for used vehicles up to $4,000 or 30% of the sale price, capped at $4,000 for qualifying EVs or EV vehicles. And my understanding is those can't be purchased from individuals. They have to be purchased from dealerships. And be careful with that, because sometimes the dealerships on used vehicles, they'll actually advertise the vehicle at, let's say they want 18 grand for the car, and they may say, oh, it's only 14 grand. So then you go in to buy it, and they're saying, well, that includes the $4,000 tax credit on the used vehicle, when in fact you may not even qualify for that. So there's a little bit of bait and switch going on, maybe a lot of it. Certain dealers that I've been to have played around with that. But what's interesting is you used to have to, when you bought a vehicle, you used to have to apply to the government to get the refund back, and you would get it in the form of a tax credit that you could take off your taxes from the, when you're filing your taxes for, let's say, April of 2026 for April for 2025. That's when you would actually get the tax credit. And basically what it does is it comes right off the bottom line of how much you owe. But as of January 1st, 2024, the government allowed the dealerships to give you that tax credit right off the price of the car when you're buying the vehicle, and then the dealership could actually apply for the credit. So that was a really nice thing. You didn't have to wait, a long time to get the benefit of that. And also, if you were financing your car, it allowed you to not have to finance the amount of the tax credit that you would have in the form of a savings. So I think that was a really good thing. Qualification criteria, the income limits, this basically is $300,000 adjusted gross income for married filing jointly, and $225,000 for heads of household. And if you're a single filer, the maximum that you could make adjusted gross income would be $150,000, or if you're married filing separately. I would say this, that check with your accountants for, whether or not you're going to qualify or not from an income standpoint, but this is basically what it is. For used vehicles, it's actually half that amount, 150,000 for married filing jointly, and then 75,000 for single filers. So what's one thing to keep in mind is, let's say you're having a banner year this year from income, you didn't make quite as much last year. You can use either this year's income, 2025, or you can use last year's income, which is kind of nice. So you'll be able to use whichever one you want. The vehicle has to be used for personal use, not for resale. And businesses or fleets are ineligible for the EV credit. And so that's something to keep in mind. But again, talk to your accountant and just make sure that everything is going on. Now, let's talk about the vehicle qualifications. So it must be a plug-in electric vehicle, an EV, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or a fuel cell vehicle. The battery size itself, I always thought it had to be 17.5 kilowatt hours. I don't know why I thought that, but it's actually 7 kilowatt hours. And I checked that on the irs.gov site. So as long as your vehicle has at least a 7 kilowatt hour battery, then it will qualify for the EV tax credit. Now, the thing is that there's also the prices of the cars go into this calculation as well. So if it's an SUV, the MSRP without delivery, like the cost to deliver the car, $1,600 or whatever it is, as long as it's $80,000 MSRP or less for an SUV, or $55,000 or less for a sedan, then the car, assuming it qualifies based on, if it was made in the United States, which is something else I'll get into, and if the batteries actually qualify, then you'll be able to have the car qualify. But the thing is, remember, that's MSRP. So if you are buying, let's say, I don't know, a Model 3 Performance, and it's over 55,000 MSRP, and for some reason you're able to get it, like with an inventory discount under 55,000, if the vehicle MSRP was over 55,000, it doesn't qualify. And so, that's kind of tough. Or if you're buying an F-150 Lightning as an example, and it's over 80,000, but yet they give you a smoking hot deal at the Ford dealership and you're only paying 77, still doesn't matter. MSRP was over 80,000. So be really careful with that. Used EVs, sale price has got to be $25,000 or less. That's excluding taxes and fees, of course. And the model year, it has to be at least 2 years prior to the purchase year. So if it's this year, 2025, it's got to be a 2023 or older vehicle. And and basically there's some stipulations around the gross vehicle weight, and the battery capacity, again, is 7 kilowatt hours. Now, there is a leasing workaround, which is interesting. We were able to actually, for Kathy's Macan EV, A, the vehicle was manufactured in Germany. B, it was over $80,000, but she still qualified. Not she didn't, but this leasing loophole is that the leasing company, at their discretion, can pass the savings on to a lessee. And this bypasses income limits and some vehicle requirements. It's a little bit tricky, but a lot of people are finding that it may make sense to lease a new electric vehicle, especially expensive ones, because, man, do they tank in value. So you got to be really careful with that. And at least when you lease a vehicle, you know how much you're going to be, putting out every month. You know how much it is. You have to be careful with the fees, and you have to be careful with the interest and the money factors and all of that goes into it. You also have to think about, at the end of the lease, if there's damage to the vehicle, they could ding you. And if you really are not set up from a financial, independent financial standpoint to assume a financial contract for 3 or 4 years on a lease, be careful with that, because they're kind of tough to get out of sometimes. If you put a lot of money down on a lease and you get into an accident, you may lose sort of the money that you put down as a cap cost reduction. But there are a lot of reasons why you might want to think about leasing a car, and especially because now, still with the tax credit out there, you'll be able to potentially take that $7,500 federal tax credit and put it towards the cap cost reduction, which is going to lower your monthly payment. It's basically just reducing the amount of principal that you need to pay from the time you take out the lease until the last payment that you make, okay? Now, here's the real rub, that the current status of when the tax credit is going to expire is December of 2032 under the Inflation Reduction Act. That's what it is. But the one big beautiful act that was passed in May of 2025, just last month, it proposes ending the $7,500 federal tax credit for most vehicles after December 31st, 2025. And there's, when I say most, years ago, a lot of people remember that the original tax credit that was put in was only allowed for up to 200,000 vehicles made, qualifying vehicles that were sold since 2010. And you know who hit that first was General Motors because of the Chevy Volt, not Bolt, but Volt. And then kind of soon after that, then Tesla hit that maximum of 200,000 vehicles. And then there was a phase out, went from 7,500 to 3,750 to 1,850 and all of that, over, 6 months and what have you. But it's an interesting thing that there's a potential that this phase out for vehicles that do qualify, but haven't sold. The manufacturers haven't sold those 200,000. Even if this big beautiful bill act, is that what they call it, the one big beautiful bill act? If that goes through, there may be some manufacturers that haven't sold enough EVs yet, so that you may actually still qualify for the federal tax credit. Again, this is kind of fluid and it's going crazy. So there's a lot of uncertainty, especially around stricter battery sourcing rules, excluding the big one is excluding minerals from China. In 2025, there was a time when I know my last Model 3, not the one that I have now, the Performance, but the rear-wheel drive, the LFP, that had a Chinese battery pack in it, the CATL, that didn't qualify for the federal tax credit. But yet the newer car with the Panasonic batteries, they did. And so that was kind of interesting. Yeah, so like I said, there aren't a lot of vehicles that really qualify for this federal tax credit right now. And I'll put them up on the screen here and take you through it. But, there's the ZDX, which is, you have to be careful with that one because you can get up over 80,000. Now, that's technically an SUV built on the same chassis as the Cadillac Lyriq, the Blazer, and also the Honda Prologue. The three Cadillacs, the Lyriq, the Optic, and the Vistic, there's a lot of icks. They all qualify, but again, be careful, the $80,000 cap. The Blazer EV, the Equinox EV, and the Silverado EV. You probably won't have any problems on the Equinox EV under the 80,000. You might with the Silverado, so be careful with that one. Pacifica plug-in hybrid, interesting vehicle. That one does qualify. Again, the battery pack is over 7 kilowatt hours on that. Ford, just the F-150 Lightnings, the Flash, the Lariat, and the XLT. What's interesting to me is the Mach-E is not listed here, and I don't really know why. I think, is that because it's made in Mexico or something? I don't really know. Chime in if you can. I did a little research, and in some sections it said that some things I found it said it was qualifying, but here on the IRS.gov site it's not. Interesting. Electrified GV70 is the Sierra EV, which is really the Silverado GMC version. Again, be careful of the 80,000. These pickup trucks get expensive. The Honda Prologue, the Ioniq 5 now does qualify, but again, be careful where that one was made. And the Ioniq 9. The Ioniq 9 is the new Hyundai that's out. I did see that at the car show. Good looking vehicle. To be honest, I kind of like the Kia EV9 a little bit better aesthetically, but they're both really nice. But again, be careful the 80,000. The Wagoneer S. This is the Jeep EV. And then Tesla has a whole bunch of vehicles here, including any variant of the Model 3. Be careful with the performances. If you're up over the 55,000 on the performance, depends on the color, and if you're getting the interior white seats, just be careful. Look at the builder. They're changing these things all the time. Make sure the MSRP is under 55,000 there. The dual motor and also the single motor and the long range Cybertrucks all qualify. Again, keep it under 80K. And then the Model X, just the base Model X. And by the way, great vehicle. I think they've got that thing listed at $79,990, depending on, be careful with the colors. You want to make sure you're under that 80K. I keep saying that. And then any variant of the Model Y is not a problem, including the new Model Y Performance, of which I'm seeing some spy shots of. That looks pretty interesting. Things like the Lucid Air, even though it's made here in the United States, that's a sedan. It's over 55K MSRP. The Model S, same thing. GMC Hummer EV, those suckers are expensive. They're over 80K. So they exceed the MSRP caps and they're ineligible. The R1Ts and the R1Ss, I think they lost, as long as they were under 80K, I think they lost eligibility due to battery sourcing changes this year. So check that as well. On the used vehicles, you just got to really be careful with that. No comprehensive list that I could really find. Eligibility depends again on that 25,000 or less price, but just watch the dealers on there. So listen, we'll wrap this up. The bottom line is, if you are able, if you're under 300,000 AGI, married filing jointly, under 150K, single, filing single, and if the vehicle qualifies, you may want to think about grabbing a new vehicle now, especially if you're thinking about doing a lease. It might be a good deal because, listen, with all the change that's going on in the government these days, you just never know what's going to happen. So now the good news is that if something happens where you don't qualify, I would highly recommend checking out the used market, the pre-owned market, because, man, I'll tell you what, the value of EVs have tanked so much that if you can't take advantage of the $7,500 federal tax credit and you have to pay up for new and you're not getting a real good discount on the vehicle, you're going to take a bath because, as far as the latest I checked, values on EVs, it's a buyer's market out there for used EVs. So listen, hopefully this summarized, for you. Check with your accountant. You can go on irs.gov. You can look at various sources as to which cars qualify. Be careful with the used market. Make sure that the dealers, they're letting you get that 4,000, not them, in terms of how they look at it. Also on used, one thing, this is just a side note, be really careful with the bait and switch dealers. I hate to mention this, especially in New Jersey, but there's a lot of shenanigans that go around where they add on all these packages and they'll do anything they can to get you in the door so that they can actually sell you something. So have a strong backbone, know what you're doing, shop for the piece that you want. Don't take any BS from these used car dealers. There's a lot of good people out there, but you got to be really careful. So anyway, best of luck hunting. I'm not buying anything right now. I know a lot of people are like, Dave, what are you doing? I'm not buying anything. I got Keeper, my Model 3 Performance, and my wife has got the Macan EV. We're going to be doing a road trip down to Florida mid-month, and that's going to be a terrific thing. I'm excited to take you all through the route planner in the Porsche Macan EV. So anyway, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave, and have a good night. Bye-bye.